fairly formal. It's not a very formal kind of setting, so I'll see if I can informalize it as I go along. Okay. I first met Edmond Kovacs back in 1961, and I met him because he was giving a class to the Young Socialist Alliance, which was a youth group of the Socialist Workers' Party. He was introduced as the Southern California chairman of the SWP, and under the name Theodore Edwards. Back in those days, most of us had party names. Hopefully the FBI wouldn't figure out who they were and wouldn't lose our jobs. This class was on Hegelian dialectics, which was a bit over the heads of most of our little socialist youth group. I tried to explain the change of quantity into quality and Findel's concept of becoming, that we could always look at what was emerging of the situation rather than what had been allowed. On November 22nd, 1963, he was scheduled to speak at UCLA, and I got into the school cafeteria to take him to the room, and it was announced over the loudspeaker that President Kennedy had just been assassinated by a pro-Cuban Marxist. So Edmund and I looked at each other. We were both Marxists, and we were both officers of the Fair Play for Cuba Committee, which Lee Harvey Oswald was also the New Orleans chapter chair of. So we were a bit uneasy there for a little while. The next year, for that summer,
Did you give a speech? That's it.
no, we can't give a speech. It would have been very foolish, we thought, to try to give a socialist talk and the president was killed. No, he didn't do that. The next summer, he was the branch organizer for a while, and I was the assistant organizer. I got to know that that finally was probably in Edmond by then. Stupid party name. And I found out quite a lot in those years about where Edmond had come from and what his youth was all about. He was born in Vienna in April of 1924 into a socialist family. His mother was Czech, and his father was a non-religious socialist Jew from Poland. His father's name was Max. His mother was named Ludmilla. His father was a member of the Austrian Social Democratic Party, and also Communist armed militia. In those days, the idea of party armies was very popular in Europe, and it's called the Schutzbund. Now, the local government in the city of Vienna was socialist government, but the national government was very right-wing, and the National Einwehr Army was about to take over the arms of the Schutzbund. The Schutzbund stayed the military uprising in 1934. Edmund was February. Edmund was 9 years old, not quite 10, and his father sent him out to carry messages to the front during the fighting. And he told me that his whole life he remembered seeing the corpses lying in the street, while bullets were flying past his head, and there was artillery shelling the Karl Marx off, which was a big workers' apartment complex where his family lived. He was an athlete in his youth. He was actually training for the Olympic swim team for Austria, which was supposed to take place in 1940. But the German Nazis invaded in 1938, and after the Anschluss, they abolished the Austrian swim team, and then the Olympics themselves were never held because of the war. They didn't start up again until 1948. His father lost his job, and because he was a socialist but a former Schutzbund member, he had to go underground. And he made feelers to his family in the United States. The family were Jewish but not interested in the forward Christian side of Max's family. They offered to provide support for Edmund's father, but not for Edmund's mother or Edmund. But the father left, going off to America by himself. And Edmund and his mother then began applying the American embassy for a visa. This was toward the end of 1938. It took a whole year. On August 8th, 1939, less than a month before World War II broke out, they finally got their visas. And they immediately got on a train, and then we ended through Switzerland for Paris. They pulled Edmund off the train at the border because He was 15 and a couple of years away from being military age. And Edmond tells two different stories about that. I don't know which one is true. One of them says that they held the train up for 3 hours and finally let him get back on the island with months. The other story he used to tell was that they didn't let him on the train, that he got in touch with some underground group that were smuggling Jews across the border into Switzerland, and he got across the border with them. I leave you which story doesn't matter. True. Okay. In America, his father had a job in Cleveland, so that's where they first went. Then they moved to Buffalo, New York. And that's where Edmond went to high school, and we first ran into the Trotskyist movement. One of his classmates was Cynthia Copeland. Cynthia's brother, Vince Copeland, was then active in the Buffalo branch of the SWP. Later, he split with a group called the Marcionites and became the leader of the Workers' World Party. Cynthia later married Bert Cochran, who was an active trade union leader of the SWP, and they were expelled from the SWP in 1953. So you see, all this stuff goes every which way, and the SWP left. They were expelled from with. They had a difference of opinion, over they didn't want to run candidates. They felt that because of the party which out of that, they should just run a magazine and run election, not run election candidates, not look like a party. And they were accused of violating discipline and not taking their dues, and James Cannon pretty much orchestrated their expulsion. It wasn't a political reason, though. It didn't have anything to do with Trots. It had to do with our scandal, the witch hunt. They were looked on as giving up the idea of a party in favor of a kind of a looser discussion circle.
And I think also that they favored the French Trotskyist movement wanted to go into the Communist Party to broaden itself out. And I think the Cabinites supported that concept.
Right. And said, no, that's, it got tied up with an international strike. They took place through. But after high school, Edmond went to a Catholic college for a couple of years. And then in 1944, the Army caught up with him and told him he was regarded as an enemy alien because he'd come from Austria. And he was given a choice either of being sent to prison or joining the Army. So he joined the Army. He went to basic training in Florida, I think. Then he had a chance to decide where he was going to go in the Army, and he volunteered for the 10th Mountain Division, which was an elite speed troop unit. And he was accepted because he'd done a lot of skiing as a really young teenager in Austria, and a lot of mountaineering. And those were skills that were very important in that unit. So he did training that and that kind of work here in the United States for several months. Then they were sent off to Italy. While he was in training, his parents were contacted by Vandy and Eric Baruch. This was important to me later for strange reasons. Baruch was the son of a hotel owner where Max and Billa had worked in Vienna. And he was a concert pianist that had a PhD in this and that. And he escaped also to America. And he married a wealthy tobacco heiress, a Jewish tobacco heiress named Altina Shanazin. And she was a designer. She designed the Harlequin glasses frames and made quite their money from that. And they were about to move to Beverly Hills from New York. And Baruch contacted Edmond's parents and said, would they come and live with them as they called her Tina's household staff, and also would Max manage her factory down in Los Angeles, produce these Harlequin glasses brand. So Edmond's parents did. They moved to Los Angeles, and when he was just about to be sent overseas, he showed up here to visit everybody, Tina and Eric and with his parents at their house in Beverly Hills. And Tina, for some reason, bought a huge Cadillac open limousine that had been designed for a big flown in fact. Edmond's father drove them around town, and Ed was sitting in the back of the throne in his uniform just before he was sent overseas. Now, what I want to add to this, Baruch was Tina's love of her life, and he died young of tuberculosis, so she remarried a neighbor of mine from where I grew up. But no, I spent endless hours at their house, 10 years after Edmond did. I lived there for months at a time and didn't know that Edmond knew her until I known him for 20 years. And so, I was way close to Tina and, of course, her preferred husband, Charlie Aaron. Okay, Edmond now goes off to Italy in the last days of the war. They get there in like November 1944. The Germans are in retreat, but they're still holding a little piece of northern Italy. The Apennine mountain range runs across northern Italy from the Mediterranean to the Adriatic, just 100 or so miles from the French border. It's very high peaks, and then there's a level land at the top of it. So the Germans are camped up there. They feel they're invulnerable to their south because of this cliff. There's a drop up. No one can get up. So their guns are all pointed the other way. They figure some assault was going to come. Well, Edmond's unit, because they're trained mountaineers, they were going to surprise the Germans. It was a famous battle at Riva Ridge, which Edmond took part in, where Field Marshal Kesselring had the Gothic line and the Germans at the top. It's a 1,000-foot cliff. It's winter in the cliff, but it's iced over all the way down, and they made a night assault where what they had to do was climb up, hammering pitons into the rock as they go, as silently as possible, using hammers that are padded to try to cut the sound, and climb up these ropes in the dark to get to the top and come over the top where there are Germans sitting with machine guns. They did surprise the Germans. The Germans didn't ever expect they would come up that way, but they had enough time after the Americans got over the top to turn the machine guns around, and about half of Edmond's unit were killed. There were huge casualties. Edmond, then, they did survive. He was assigned to the Italian partisans and did work with them. He was an interrogator of suspected German war criminals. At least one of them was tied in Nuremberg because Edmond had identified him. And then he was assigned to the Allied staff in Vienna because he spoke German. He spoke German, Italian, and English. And he tells a story that combines the Riva Ridge event with his Vienna event. In Vienna, while he's there, they had a big family reunion. And at the reunion, his cousin Heidi limps in on a crutch. Well, Heidi, what happened to you? Well, I was in the German army, and I was stationed in northern Italy on top of Riva Ridge. Oh, my God. And Edmond, you see, while he was there, he had spotted this little hut between his unit and the little town that Germans still held. And he was a mortar expert and fired a mortar shell at this hut. And when amazing luck, the shell went right down the chimney and blew the hut up. So I said, what happened to you? He says, I was in this little hut on the top of Riva Ridge, and some son of a bitch dropped a mortar shell down the chimney. Okay. When he got back to America, Edmond took a degree in chemistry at USC. And he went to work in the oil refineries down there in Carson. It was at USC that he met Shirley Slipper-Pfaff Morris, who they lived together for a couple of years and then got married in 1950. And they remained married their whole life until Shirley died in October of that year. So they were married for 50 years. He joined the Socialist Workers' Party in 1947. And pretty soon, over the McCarthy period, his chemistry job evaporated. One day, he goes to work and was a couple of FBI agents in the front office with Paulie in. And they asked him, do you know Myra Tanner Weiss? So Myra Tanner Weiss was the 1952 vice presidential candidate of the Socialist Workers' Party, and she was also a central leader of the Los Angeles branch. So Edmond, of course, knew her very well. Edmond looks at them as he can and said, Myra Tanner, who? But they dragged him out of the place, they threw him out, and that was the end of his career in chemistry. By that time, his parents said, they're no longer working for Tina Barrett, and they had moved to Watts. And his father was a watchmaker. He had that skill, and found little jewelry store, he watches. And so his father trained Edmond as a watchmaker, and Edmond and the father ran the business until 1959 when his father died, and Edmond continued the business by himself. He was pretty active in the party at that time, and the party was a kind of a low ebb after the expulsion of the Cochrane people in 1953. It was down to 350, 400 members. He wrote regularly for the party's theoretical magazine in those years. This was the International Socialist Review, which these days it was a quarterly. He wrote articles on the Hungarian Revolution in 1956. He wrote an article on Dixon's famous trip to Latin America a couple of years later. He wrote something on the United Nations, and he wrote on the early stages of the Vietnam War. The party had a bulletin of Marxist studies and published a 9-lecture series that Edmond had given on the Soviet Union. I remember in August of 1961, Edmond had a big debate with Earl Browder, who was the former head of the American Communist Party. It was known that the Unitarian Church. It was actually, in fact, I thought he had a glum debate. It went pretty well.
The one in Besson.
No, the one on 8th Street, just off of 1 p.m. in New York. The big Reverend Frenchman's radical pro-communist Unitarian Church. The one with all the radicals belonged and no one really believed in religion. It's still something like that. But 8 years later, he had another famous debate. He debated Reverend Blaise Barthé, who was a famous radical priest who was very active in the liberation theology movement and a big figure in human rights defense for Central America.
Still active now.
And he is still. And their debate was Marxism and Christianity, are they compatible? And pamphlet was published on the debate. And you can still find it on the internet. You can still figure around with the Bible through there. He also had a weekly radio show, a 15-minute radio show at KVSA for maybe 15 years, from 1906 to the early 1970s. Theodore Edwards. The radio show was under Theodore Edwards. It was still going at that time. By the end of the 60s, the party was changing. The Cuba levy, with a whole bunch of people my age or even slightly younger than me were coming into it. And frankly, they were very jealous about keeping the positions for themselves. And they began to bypass people of Edmond's generation. There were not a lot of them, but there were a good dozen or so in the party who would come in from the late 40s to the late 50s. And by and large, they began to bypass from leadership positions by the younger generation, especially those who were around Jack Farnes, who emerged as the central party leader. Edmond had another problem, though. That was his connection with Myra Weiss and Murray. There was a long, underground, undocumented fight in the party between James Buchanan, the party's founder, who lived in Los Angeles, and Tom Carey and Farrell Dobbs, who were the central leaders in the party's official national office in New York. Buchanan was supported by Murray and Myra Weiss and their people around them. The dispute had various issues. Buchanan had pushed for the expulsion of the Cochranes, which, in retrospect, I think was wrong. On another side, though, Buchanan and the Weiss people felt strongly that the party had become very sectarian, that it didn't work with other forces, that it was involved in self-created activity, that it was hostile toward differences of opinion within the party. And felt very strongly about that. The people about Murray and Myra promoted that criticism. And the party leadership in New York was very reluctant to name Buchanan as the person they were criticizing, so everything focused on so-called Weissites And if there ever was anybody who could be branded a life side, it was Edmond Kovacs. And so that tended to definitively sideline Kennedy as the big, as Billy was finally typecast as simply a local branch educator who wasn't often asked some things at an adequate level for that. Okay, in private life, Edmond made his living as a watchman. Initially, he had historic lots, but at a certain point, especially after the Watts riots in 1964, in consultation with the party, it was suggested that he move into an all-white area so that if he can occasionally get robbed, Edmond was a military war hero. Edmond had said, I didn't give up to the Nazis, I'm not giving up to anybody that he thought who comes to my store and tries to take away the stuff. Well, threatens when you get a gun. And he had a couple of shootouts in the Watts store, and so after 64, he moved the store to Glendale on Grand Boulevard, that is an all-white area, mostly Armenian, and felt it was not going to get an original flash there. But it didn't mean that this kind of things didn't happen. We still occasionally get blocked. Once his mother was there, some gunman came there and pointed the gun at Edmond, shot it out, and both of them missed and got right away. Edmond was not going to go up to that thing. On July 21st, 1981, three guys walk into a store. One of them pulls out a sawed-off shotgun, the other two pull out pistols. Here's Edmond, 57 years old, standing behind the counter. Three guys pointing guns at him. One's a shotgun. What does he do? He reaches under the counter, he pulls out his gun, he shoots the guy with a shotgun dead. He shoots one of the other guys and wounds him very seriously, and holds the third one. He presses something, locks the door, and holds the third one there until the police come. With a part of going to the other on his own, a little board the pit. In the article, there's a quote that I love. The paper asks him, well, how did you win against this guy with a shotgun? And Edmond's answer says, well, he was right-handed, so I kept moving to his left. Kept his body between me and the shotgun. He never could get off a shot. I got off 5. All right. What Edmond didn't know is that right around that time, Jack Barnes, the head of the party, had become disillusioned with the Trotskyist movement. They still publish works by Trotsky, we still promote that, but he became convinced secretly, privately, that the Fourth International and the World Trotskyist movement was a dead end, and that the future belonged to the Central American Revolution, and especially the Caribbean Cuban Communist Party. Fidel Castro had the right interventionist line, and Trotsky had become commentary politics that stirred the sidewalks. And Barnes' response to how he was going to promote that position of the party was he figured that a bunch of the older people were not going to agree with whatever they thought of Cuba. I never really believed that the thing was much about Cuba, as Barnes insists, would really have to do with whether they were going to stay in a full international. And Barnes did not want to put that up to a vote. He made up some kind of secret list of about 150 or 16 people in the party, mostly the older people, and some kids of my generation, with the intention of having show trials to expel them all before any kind of discussion or vote was taken. And Edmond was number 1 on the list. So he was brought up on charges of contributing to right-wing vigilantism, like having this shootout with a guy with a shotgun. Okay, and was expelled for the group of the party. Okay, so that's how Edmond ended up out of the party. And it was followed by a long series of these trials, making 10 or 12 of them all over the country, until they finally got the party was becoming demoralized by all the trials, and they had some kind of grand roundup at the end of 1983 throughout everybody else was on witness. The whole issue is summed up, I thought, quite nicely when they read a thumbnail sketch of this. I happened to be hunting around the internet the other day, and I find a bookstore in San Francisco has an ad for their an old Valerio Books as it had for SWP internal bulletin they have their hands on from 1982 that summarizes from Jack Bonner's viewpoint the first 6 or 8 of these tribes. And the bookstore is trying to explain to the potential buyer what this thing is about. They describe it this way. They say, here is a case study of how an organization performs a frontal lobotomy on itself. Then they add this description. They say, this document contains summaries of the series of purge trials. Cases range from a straight frame-up, from the case of Asher Horror in San Francisco, to an assortment of both purge trial summaries, the expulsion or resignation, according to Barnes, of Peter Cameo, and even the Dirty Harry-style case of Edmond Kovacs, a.k.a. Theodore Edwards, one of the more interesting party intellectuals in Los Angeles. Edmond went on after this to take part in the founding of Socialist Action and then of Solidarity, which he remained a member of right up to his death. He regularly sent out political emails to some kind of a list of all his friends. I was on his list, used to get them all the time, about American and world politics. He went to Italy with his wife Shirley, any number 5 or 6 times, I think, for reunions of the 10th Mountain Division. That she was very involved with, care a lot about. Old age, as they say, is a bitch. And Edmond had, I thought, a very hard time in his last year. Part of it was health. Part of it was, I have to say, that there was some mental deterioration. People who knew him saw much of him through the CNET. I think I was probably one of the only people who saw a lot of him other than his immediate neighbors. And some of it was, he was still quite rational that part of the time, but there were also some studies that were up for him and careful. He became very distrustful of doctors. He was thinking this with doctors, which was okay for him. But his wife Shirley was in very poor health, and she had a bad fall in I think, August or September of 2009. And I went out to see her, and she told me she was a very retired person, very quiet, and Edmond was very dominant in their relationship. And I asked her, do you want to see her doctor? She couldn't get out of bed. They'd been in bed for a week, couldn't walk. And I thought maybe she had a broken hip. And she said, yes, she wanted to see her doctor. And Edmond went down and was very angry with her and persuaded her not to see the doctor. And a number of his older comrades were very angry with him about that. Some of those women found this feeling furious to him. I reported in files with it. And they sent out a social worker, and they then sent out a visiting nurse to determine her hip was not broken. Edmond called me up and he said, you betrayed me to the bourgeois state. Well, we made up. It was okay. But I thought it was a bad sign. And it's a bad sign. She died in October of 2009 after a second fall, which her hip really was broken. And Edmond's health was very poor. He was gasping for breath. I knew he had asthma. It's happened been there for years. He'd been an athlete. Even in his late 60s, he was doing 100-mile bike rides. But now he was wheezing so violently and was in openness with brother. And I tried to persuade him to see a doctor, and he wouldn't. Because doctors are just agents of the pharmaceutical companies. They're just capitalism, it's all for profit. So he hadn't been on like that until finally on January 12th, he felt so bad that he got his car, drove himself to Kaiser. And they did an x-ray and discovered what he really had was undiagnosed throat cancer. He had a growth that was pressing on his airway. And some advanced that by June the next day, he lapsed into a coma. It was the very last moment when he was still awake enough to possibly drive the car. He never came out of coma. I was his executor, and I had his health trade for health care. So I was there on Thursday, and on Friday morning, the doctor came here. She told me that there was no way they could reconnect its nose and mouth to his lung. The long skipping the line was the tube. If you took the tube out, there was actually nothing they could put in its place. So I had to give the order and send it down to move the tube. And I put the else stuff who was doing it alone. And I was there on the way there. Anyway, Edmond, I thought, was a fascinating person who had his faults, who wasn't doing anything bad, who I wasn't blind to them, but I had an enduring affection for Edmond. And in his own way, he was unique and he was irreplaceable. Well, frankly, we had quiet onions. Everybody? Yeah, there's also Rita Shaw said something. He made his song has something to read. Rich Boston about Charlotte. That something got me down for that thing. I haven't felt that Lucido Burger was really not a stroke. Surely did not have a stroke meant to the fall. Well, maybe just 50. I haven't heard that. The very else, 13th and the one. Not long before he meditate. And he had got that stuff. And about being fighting up the some for things that we fight wrong on time. Yeah. And she won. She did fine. As for the problem with that in mind, the problem was looking what wouldn't get coordination favorable. So it was difficult for her to feed herself or to just things with the thing. And she wasn't willing to. But we got that. I never knew what she had. It brought for something like my senses. The deeper reading problems and adjusting problems and balance problems. Have much worse than I stopped with Marcus. But that's all I know.
No, what was that word? What I feel peasant.
Infant.
People running to it. This is a character was sitting or bleeding. Hey, drunk out with blunt still much red bag. And steep shoes and bread. It's even fortified to shoot instead. And okay, balance both deafness. Second full deafness. People that are character therapist. Off. In the street. You can see it in watching horrible. That. Full of weird. If we are talked to that probably the couple months want. His voice was very well. With authority that source religion was probable but it was sneaking. Felt it all. I'm sure everybody knows better. We just moved in. We had, ever since so, well, we had many, my wife, only I can stay with some person, which is not spoke for those things. So we had many, over the years, many we have a little full respect. Disputes, but we enjoyed this company. Until near the end, I think that with Europe and all that stuff, I think, disputes for it. Something might be put forward for all that stuff. But he was doing it and all that. And if we watched this stuff, TV, which Patriot came from, probably in very country. He watched a lot of stuff in his house. Like that, we live with us. And we thought about it, or family, I suppose. Did anybody know what? I don't think it was very tolerant.
So, that's in French.
French.
We buddies. All buddies very much. So, regardless of the ethic relations, what? It wasn't my late husband, I spelled had a son, Michael. And
Michael went to the LA, but the thing, and less big. When Michael died of cancer over his planet Greece, and we had a very big memorial for him. There were approximately 200 people there. And one of his professors, one of the Frank Michael was getting this professor, the professor. Listen to what that's saying. Yeah, thanks. His professor was one speaker and Edmond Kovacs. The professor spoke first. I cannot tell you what I would say. Of course, he was there and complimented about that. But he also spoke about the current political situation in the world, which of course was not a socialist position. But Edmund felt it was necessary when he gave his presentation to not only say documentary things about my number wires, but also to attack the professor. And by the time he finished, Max and I were practically falling done with me. He also had a very soft spot for women and their problem, and he was particularly exposed, of course, from the history to the potential of the family. And he spoke about the time when his father had left to go to America, and his mother was pregnant. And she lost the baby. She had miscarriage. And when Edmund was told about, there were tears as his mother had gone to the law, but he had lost the sibling, but Faithlin was for his mother. Very sensitive. So he was. There were many, many differences in his personality. You're right, and just like doctors, my son-in-law, John Dork, Theodore's brother, the doctor, he's retired of Kaiser, and he was Edmund's doctor. Which was very good. To stay full but John continued to not give him up as a patient who kept him on his own Edmund just got better.
You thought you got the medical card, but Edmund is a biologist. That was his field.
All I know said he was chemistry, so I didn't want to like,
well, these we do a great deal of vitamins, but my knowledge about vitamins was suggested and so on. So, in-depth knowledge of that. So 20 years ago, people want just of vitamin D. Now, one reads about was better. Almost really did it. But we knew a lot. It was very interesting. So perhaps you felt it self-medicate.
Oh, definitely.
In addition to other areas, you felt that we had a very natural and it's very natural. And none of it. So I remember all things like this.
Well, at the ending of thinking, surely this is why it's all built more of the usual about North. Those like the last 11 years haven't seen them too often. Like even thinking surely it's been a splitting new world for keys. Which these were not medical doctors as far as I knew, but dealing with natural
Holistic.
Yeah, about it. About that, but he was taking help effectively to the fortunes. Whereas what we found the people, we had them all the ones have this. That's kind of the little bit the with policy. Well, well, that's a duty. I met Edmond relatively late. I would say relatively late in life. It was only about 43 years ago when I came to Los Angeles in 1967. And he was, as Les explained, and so he was described as a ranch educator. And of course, most of us young people, we didn't think we really needed that much education since we knew it all. We could have been chosen to join the Socialist Workers' Party, and that was proof that we knew it all. And all that was needed to do was to reread the historical literature, and the answers to all basic problems were there. And some people still think that way. But I never heard his radio program. I knew of it. I think it must have ended before I got to Los Angeles. Otherwise, I might have heard of it. But I don't know. In any event, I'm very grateful to Les that you have assembled this part of his history, which I'm afraid we will never see much more of, unless somebody edits a few of the things that we say, or some other people write. But I think that he was someone, as I knew him, and not closely. He was simply someone, and he was reading Marxist and intellectual education, something that I never still don't have, and honestly I'm about that. And he was someone that when I spoke with him, or when I listened to him, I always knew there was going to be something that I hadn't thought about, that he, by the logic and by the intelligence of what he said, he forced me to think about something or other that I never thought about, or some aspect of some problem. I run an electronic news website. We got an awful lot of subscribers, and he was one of those. He never published anything. He never wrote about it, but he was a supporter of the revolution like I am. But he was the kind of person, he would always look at, well, what are the problems they face? And I remember, I don't remember more what our study was, but he indicated by the discussion that he had an understanding of the kinds of internal problems that I started looking at the line, but most of the United States wouldn't have to have. You said that he had a need that list. I never received anything from him, and I looked up on my mailing list. He was this driver for 3 years, to my bed, possibly more. And I know that he read it because once in a while, when he would speak on the telephone, he knew what was going on in Cuba, and he had something useful, some comments to make. So, like I said, that always made me think. Now, except for the last 2 times I saw him, it was an 80th birthday party at some restaurant. There were a couple of other birthday parties at that restaurant, thank you, but then one time, I don't know, maybe 2 years ago, I brought a Thai lunch to the house and I spent a couple of hours there hanging out, and was still studying, wrote closely, thinking about things, yeah. And we talked, I don't remember anymore what we talked about, but I must say, as I think about this, I struggled to learn the Spanish language, which I speak in a limited way, because I were around Cuba. Edmond spoke English fluently. I don't remember him having the accent either, possibly didn't. And if I were able to listen to a radio show, maybe I'd affect a little bit. But he spoke English fluently. He wrote English fluently. That's a skill I think most of us in this country doesn't pick up. And that was very just one syllable intellectual skill, and I'm sure he had many others. Spoke about chemistry, watch, but anybody here imagine like the wristwatch park doing that together? Yeah, that's idea. So when I think about what you describe, he was a person from another world, another culture, that people in this country. But I followed the policy of the Socialist Party, and I was called up for military membership. I refused to fill out the loyalty oath, the provision that asked what political groups you belonged to. And a few weeks later, then I told them politely to please not report the conversation. I so, as Peter Nabath said, it's this one, signal integrity anyway. And a few weeks later, I got a letter that I should someday I'll frame it, but your presence in the armed forces are not a vehicle that is security will die. And they gave me a 4F for medical reason not said, I don't want to spirit. Anyway, the idea of engaging in an art that soldier is so remote from my experience. I know that we've lost a window. It's a part of life, part of history that simply is gone. And that most of us have the remotest idea. And it's a shame that somebody, I remember suggesting if I would do an oral history, do an interview with somebody sit down and have a conversation with you and record it. And now that's unfortunately gone. But being made served with somebody that made a terrific contribution to the socialist movement. And just as an example of what you need to do under trying circumstances, this life that really quite exemplary. You talk about the not going to the doctors. Nobody mentioned when I've had them in the 60s, the 70s. Everybody here remembers he was somebody that ate all sorts of pills all the time, vitamins, he had at the back end to the end, something like that. Always. Yeah. And he was doing these bicycle rides. I remember him calling them the century and the double century. I mean, when I got, there was a point where I once read a 9-mile race. So I think he was ahead of it. Most people, I don't know what pills he took for youth or not. I know, I'm really people about these things than I did, but I don't really care. Like, if I lived, bottom line. Well, he was just, he had such an encyclopedic life. I think those of us in the youth were fortunate to be in the presence of some. We've been away so much as he did. And fine, because I hope you don't mind, I just swamping about this. I'm sure I'll never have a chance to speak about it again. I'm very glad that I know him and I knew him. I'm very grateful to you, Les, that you've been out of the syphilis just after down the public.
We're sending it to solidarity, full against the so that do something with it.
Great.
Let's read a little thing from Rita Shaw in Seattle. And then think that also was the fault. Rita was having her 80th birthday. It was, I think, this coming the end of August. In August, that's it. Yeah. Okay, she joined the SWT in 1948, so she'd been around a long time. And she also was one of the people in the center of sure that was not happening that in like how they related. But anyway, she insisted that this be read here, so I will read with it. I had known Edmond for about 60 years, many of those years as comrades in the Socialist Workers' Party, and even after that, connection ended, and a friend of his was Shirley, his wife, over all those years. Edmond spent all his adult life as a committed revolutionary socialist. His contribution as an educator and large theorist were an essential part of the Socialist Workers' Party and the educationalist cabinet. At events such as this, it's customary for people to speak of the various aspects of a person's life, using overwhelmingly positive and assured attitude situating here. I will not repeat what others will probably address, and in doing this, do not wish to show any disrespect or diminished appreciation of Edmund's importance with history of socialist struggle for the past 60 years. I wish rather to raise for your memorialization the appreciation of the support provided by Shirley, his wife of 60 years, without whom it would have been impossible for him to devote himself as much as he did to his role of educator and theorist. Shirley died less than 3 months before Edmund, and until the very end was his closest confidant and supporter, both personally and materially. Thank you, Shirley, for helping provide for Edmund's political contributions, and we celebrate in today's memorial for solidarity with the show.
There's one other memory I had of that move. We would have executive NBCs periodically, was dependent on how often the telling that's the song is that was executive committee was that right as we behind the made by now. And all of us on the committee, except as the written workers. And at that time, I was smoking a soda was that we were sitting in a room at a table without the guys. And I didn't really even notice until years later when he commented about it. He would move his chair over to the window and open the window and sit by the open window. And it never occurred to any of us who were so stupid that it was our smoke that was bothering him so terribly that he would never say one word. It was 30 years later, 40 years later, when he finally looked at me and said, "And you!" Yeah. So, lots of dear and saying do that, but yeah. Well, we stopped smoking a long time ago, but I really so bad of that time that had the point. If he was a contradiction as the person who was it would be very sweet for his neck, very good, he was very fine. The lecture and still something you taught her, and wow, he did really turn. And was somebody very wide, which is not good. But everything, it was analyzed to listen. Every single thing. The family is not as a commanded in front of it. It's like, all of us know that wasn't good. That is what it is. The probably 60 years that they've been, they do it since 1940. Finland, a evolved relationship, a long friendship, and regardless of the times that he got loyal, which is the I'm very, very grateful to have had him as a honorable way.
Zero?
What's something? What's that? What's something? I don't think I've had anything. Twitter, it was, I read that when he tried talking about them full. Oh. to the whole. What's resurrect? To make it for the police. I think everybody's covered everything. I think what I still find amusing is when Edmond brought up on trial for shooting, killing this guy, tried to rob his studio. I was very sharp when he came bound. Trying to explain why he should, and then to take his leave of absence and explain why he should not come back to the party. Remember, he made the point that he could have, without knowing what the hell he was talking about very now, talked about him, might have been, he just assumed the guy was black. And said, you might have killed another Malcolm X. Doesn't remember that? I mean, that's just now. That just stuck in my mind. I mean, I'm not trying to share that. It's just, there's something wrong with this war. That would be, I don't know. The reason that's what is he talking about? But no, I remember on his trips, his bicycle trips, come by the house. Didn't have much space on the wallet. So we'd sit with us all.
You probably might have said, what do you have about the Malcolm X still here? It's a lie that's in my memoir. I attended when the people in Rio left. I attended a meeting of the International Executive Committee of the Fourth International in Paris in January 1984 when we were appealing all of the expulsions. And there were about 35 people around the big table. Barry Shepherd was there, and he's one with Pat Brogan, who was a honorable activist with the SWV. And I present the reasons why we should made in the Fourth International to do the rest of the spills. And they pick on Edmond as the case to show how evil we were and why we should not be with it. And Pat Brogan said it, and I do like a quote actor when he said, he is the killer jeweler who murdered a potential Malcolm X to protect his hoard of gold.
It's not quite out of the way to remember. A lot of it is yeah. At the time of the formation of the Cuba Committee, for right after that, some of the whose sons will come into the SDP headquarters. I think we meet up here, son. So when we had a meeting here, I forget what the meeting's about. Protest to Forestry. And for some reason, I was always sort of like the fence partners, and what I know as titles you got us there. But I remember standing by the door with the steps and confronting me. Instead of his overcoat on, I had jacket on, rolled 12 to 10. We're armed, was all. I popped them in. We're open, it was a stab thing. And comes up to me and says, you have to use it. He was, what's it called? Well, put a gun, but jeez, what's it kind of? So I put it in my pocket. I go, but he was able to defend me. I mean, he was ready for me to defend him.
I found you as still a metaphor. It's dog. I had dog that's caught. And we once got into active and moved together, and I don't know anything about that during where let's say the site was when he was his son, but we were on the same wavelength. So I said, I just full time. And one day the pit bull attacked my business, and I got him shouting at little whereas this I don't know. Ed took my side, and this guy came and Ed then 80 was really ready to get into a fight with this guy. And I was screaming, my dog was breathing at him, and this guy pushed Ed with Ed fell over and with swallowed us off. Me call Shirley to come up to us up. And the first thing I said to Shirley was, I must go. I was very good. Does wonderfully mystified by this spot. No, what do you mean to this good? I've been back at house. They told us to me out of counting stuff. Nothing left but said he was perfect. He didn't question it. I was realized I've been walking like the mud for a year and a half with a man with a gun in his pocket. I was always absolutely alright. And then I was not only nothing satisfied, I got to know the hands. I knew we were talking about it's English, and one of the things we would place out of that model. And Shirley and I was looking, and he was so angry because it's not you wanted. That's why we didn't always. And you really would get so cross with have to stop banging one. But because I spent the supplementing and I season of it to be betrayed the parents after a few years, seeing them after 6 months of absence, you can see it being shot, and it was very sad as he was but I just was so grateful and felt it's pain.
Well, it's a $1,000 party. Well, she thinks that, did you fit so? What do you fit? No, I didn't blow it.
I don't know. I'm kind of reluctant just because like when wasn't resolved between Edmond and I, since my relationship with the Socialist Party was very brief. Going in 1972 and was thrown out by the letter and delivered at home without a trial. The entire tenancy that I was in, and viewers don't remember go off. And so it's Edmond, and the entire IT was expelled from the SWP by the letter. No trial, first time that it ever happened. And this was 1974.
Mm-hmm. Were you there too?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So what is our sleep? Internationalist and tenants and other, and that all local views has never been resolved. So Edmond was one of the I would say political hacks at the time in 73, the year up until we fell. I debated. And my apologies too. I'm sure it was one of those levels. I debated Edmond on the national president branch meet during the pre-convention discussion during LA. The 60 people that big turnout with that. You might have been. So, and he and I never resolved because I'm a member of Solidarity. And I know Edmond quite well now, but we never resolved those, discussed those years. And that's why I said being elected. It's like, we should have. Because, when you let it go, and then, how did he Fred? It's gone. And all down to the yard. And what was he? I don't know. I'm not a member of Solidarity. So what was he like as a member of Solidarity? Because he was a person who was active until the end of his life. What role did he play there? The commentator, educator. Scott, Joel, Jerry were also members of Solidarity active members. They'll say something about that. I agree with Evan most of the time. It's not that era back then. This never was all. David would have acknowledged go right. It was very educational. With somebody outside, this kind of substance, all things. Let's say it part of the system. There's some divisions in the public party here. And which I'll just realize that there's an accommodation that basically like
absolute philosophical basis, the conviction validation. And I got to realize, by doing all the practical stuff within it, that it was like now this spiritual trials, all this stuff, I don't know where that's. So, I'm very surprised, that I cannot be it is good thought. And it's happened. There's our little message as far as I can see, as a political force for things that we believe in. Also, there's inability to eliminate for the general purpose of we make that monate when trying to move with political system or so to whatever we want to call it. So I knew that it was, I'd always have to hesitate because I did what happened or the in or out, what is it? Not what the point is it Stalin is bit frankly his speech was sure very important to so many philosophies were so chicken was not to look like the movement. Just don't think survive. Except getting down to smaller stuff. Well, the efficiency, but so I'm just telling you that's best of them. Because something like this, related to the sense of the fast. Well, the thing I know is that Norris Dan is that each week these tendencies that like the old phrase. Well, I used to sit there all left part. I used to tell Edmond this that I do, and it may not be correct, but I had thought I read a little probably different. Well, when it comes to the social